Hey, what's up, fam? Thank y'all for tuning in once again, as always. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bells. Every time I drop a video, you will be the first to know about it. So, I want to touch on again, let's talk about home ownership, owning property, trying to create generational wealth. Now, we like to talk about, when I say we, I mean, the FBA, ADOS, my brethren and sisters. We like to hear, and then we like to regurgitate words like generational wealth, the racial wealth gap, owning homes, properties, so forth, and so forth, et cetera, et cetera. But we really don't understand what we're talking about. It's kind of like those of us who sit in the church and hear the preacher regurgitate the same speeches every Sunday. And then we get out here and because he said something that made us feel good, kind of give us another reason just to hold on until we get to the promised land. Or having us believe that somehow some miracle gonna happen and we're just gonna accumulate all this wealth and everything's going to be right immediately. Heck, even in the scriptures, when the Most High got Moses to get the people up out of Egypt, he told him, man, you're not going to see the promised land. The generations after you will benefit from it, but I just need you to get them there. But you're not going to live long enough to benefit from any of it. And yet he still did it. And that's one of the things I try to tell our people is, again, y'all, we always want to talk about, we do got to stick to the scripture. Let me say that. Whether we go to church or not, I feel like, say, the scriptures or the Bible, whatever you want to call it, is a foundation of living. And we do need to get our youngins back to that because they need something. They don't have anything. And this is why the rap music and the stuff that they're doing now is like out of hand. Because they don't have nothing spiritual, nothing that's grounding them to real life and how to, to live in this world and be productive members of society. They don't have no grounding, and it's destroying our community big time. But I say, get back to the Bible. What did old boy Giza Risen them said, the basic instructions before leaving Earth, that's basically what it is. So you have to understand that, once you understand it, that our generation, maybe the generation before us, and probably us too, are going to have to build a foundation for our kids and our grandchildren. But we have to build it, and then they have to continue to build from that strong foundation in order for the grandchildren and the great grandchildren to be able to, to reap the benefits. But if there's no foundation, you have nothing. Like they say, building, you're trying to build a house on sand or on water or on mud, it won't stand. You have to have a foundation. So we have to build a foundation, and it starts with education. And I ain't talking about school education, although a lot of stuff is there. I'm talking about real world education, getting out and reading books, learning things that pertain to your everyday life. For instance, taxes, tax codes. There's a book I got, hold on, let me see, here we go. This book here, I told y'all about this. The Whiteness of Wealth by Dorothy A. Brown. Get this. She's like a tax attorney, I believe. And she tells a story about, her doing her parents' taxes, and she makes more money than her parents, but for some reason her parents paying more in taxes than she did. And she didn't understand why. But once she looked into it, she saw how the tax codes were written and how the tax codes benefited rich people and not the average everyday worker, or especially the average everyday Black person. These are things that you have to read and have to understand and implement in your everyday life. So anyway, I want to read this article. We'll go through this article from Brookings.edu. It talks about the tax system, and it says how the property tax system harms Black owners and widens the racial wealth gap, right? So I'm not going to read it all. I'm going to post it below so you can read it yourself, so you can study it, because there's a lot of places, little links in this story that you can actually click on so you can read where they get this information from. That's just what it takes. That's foundation, reading, studying, and then teaching it and bringing it to the masses. So let me see. It said, let me start out here. It said housing and tax policy penalize Black homeowners and widen the racial wealth gap. It says, talks about 20th century discriminatory housing policies and practices are indisputably responsible for segregating America's residential communities and contributing to existing racial wealth disparities. Tax law and practice aggravate these effects and place a disproportionately heavy financial and oftentimes emotional burden on the average Black homeowners. Now, back in the day, Black folks, you couldn't eat. Even now, to an extent, if you don't pay attention, you get caught up. But there are places where Black people, they don't want them to live, and places where white people don't want to live. You see houses that in white areas are appraised for certain value, and in the Black community, it's down to a certain value. And it really has nothing to do with crime or what's going on in the community. It has to do with your color. And these used to be laws written in the books back in the day, but they took them out, but they still practice. It's still in practice. And so you have to, let's say, be leery and be wary of that. Was there one lady who sued these appraisers because she put a house on the market. She took everything Black out the house, made it look like a house ran by white folks, even had white people standing in for, and the house got appraised for like $100,000 more than when she did the exact same thing at the same house. It's out there. It say property assessments and appraisals are two different estimations of a home value conducted at two different times. Their contribution to the improper valuation of Black-owned homes through both over-assessment and undervaluation have caused Black homeowners to lose money by way of monthly property tax payments and at times of sales. Now, let's get into it. Today, median white household wealth sits at $187,300 compared to just $14,100 for Black households. And while 72.7% of white Americans are homeowners, only 44% of Black Americans are homeowners. So basically, say it like, if you want to say it like this, let's say they're in this country, because they try to say we're only like 12 or 14% of the population. So just say it like this. Let's round it off. Let's say there's 1,000 white people and there are 100 Black people. Out of 1,000 white people, 720 of them have homes, and out of 100 Black people, 44 got. So there's still a discrepancy right there. There's your racial wealth gap right there. It's not like 70% of the country have. It's not like it's saying out of 100% of the country, 70% of the homeowners are white and 70% of the 30% of the homeowners are Black. It's out of white people, this many have, and there are supposedly more of them than us. And out of Black people, this is how many we have. And so you see where the gap starts, right? It says, according to the Census Bureau 2019 survey of income and program participation, the median wealth for renters was $4,084 compared to $125,000 for homeowners. So now you can imagine, if the majority of Black people are renting, they have no wealth compared to those who have homes. And they're saying most of their, a large part of their wealth is in the home equity. It said the U.S. tax system protects accumulated wealth, creating a barrier to home ownership for lower income low wealth households. Let's find some more stats. White college educated households are more likely to receive a financial gift of over $10,000 from family members than black college educated households. 32% versus 9%. Again, 32% of 1,000 versus 9% of 100. Moreover, the average gift to white households is significantly larger than the average gift to black households. $235,000 versus $65,000. I don't even know no black people who can give somebody $65,000. I don't think I do. But can you just thinking on that? Can you imagine knowing somebody who can give $235,000 gifts to their kids? Again, the gap is huge. In white families, wealth transfers are more likely to flow from parent to child or grandparent to grandchildren. Yet in black families, wealth transfers are more likely to flow in the opposite direction. What does that mean? That once you get money, you're taking care of your parents or you're taking care of your grandparents because they have nothing. Which is why the wealth, which will keep the wealth gap growing even more, because your wealth is not trickling down to grow. So now consider that the tax code provides additional relief to prospective buyers whose families have excess capital to gift them. The code enables a grantor to gift up to $17,000. Do you know anybody in your family or your community that could just give a kid $17,000? Without having to report the transfer on an IRS gift tax return form, which means they can give their kids $17,000 and don't have to report it, which means they don't have to pay taxes up to, what is it, gift taxes? Gift tax, like, I can't even remember. I don't know if it's 30 something or 50%. They don't have to pay taxes on it. So that keeps, money in the family. Unless it comes from a foreign source. Okay, such financial gifts are powerful in that they provide white families with a head start to wealth building through home ownership. They also allow wealth to accumulate across generations in ways that it does not for black families due to the family structure and lack of access to excess capital. Property tax assessments and valuations are biased against black owners. Okay, let's get to this. This is what I want to get to. The average black homeowner faces a disproportionately higher property tax burden than the average white homeowner. In the U.S., property taxes are supposed to be based on the value of the home. However, researchers at Indiana University concluded that nationwide tax assessors often overassess black-owned homes relative to the market value. Consequently, the local property tax applied to the overassessed value of black-owned homes is 10 to 13% higher than for white homeowners. So here's what it's saying. Let's say if I got a house, and let's say the market value is $100,000. Should say how it should be $100,000, right? So when you get your taxes, the county say, okay, this is send you the low tax information for the year of what you're gonna pay. They say, okay, your house is worth $100,000, so you're gonna pay, I can't think of, let me just say offhand, let's say $10,000 a year, which is probably not right, but let's say you're paying $10,000 a year on taxes because your house is worth $100,000. That's the valuation of your house. Okay, appraisal. Okay, fine. But when you get ready to sell your house and you black, the guy gonna come in, or the girl or whoever gonna come in and say, hey, they're gonna look at the house and say, well, because of this bull crap that they pulling out the sky, your house is, you could probably sell your house for $80,000. Like what? No, like, huh? So basically you're going to make less than what you should because of what they're But if it was a white person or in a white neighborhood, their house could be saying 100,000. They'll tell you, well, man, the way it looks, this nice neighborhood, this and the third, you can sell it for 120,000. You see what I'm saying? So that's where, again, the disparity lies. Conversely, property assessment for white-owned homes are often closer to the home's market value. Ultimately, black homeowners end up paying a higher property tax bill than they should because the value of their home has been overestimated compared to what it will sell for. White homeowners, on the other hand, pay more accurate property tax bill because their home value estimations are often close to the actual sale price. Again, they're going to tell you one thing. When it's time to pay taxes, they're going to say, your house is worth way up here. But when it's time to sell it, they're going to tell you to sell it less than that because it's going to be hard to sell it. Similarly, Brookings research has shown that real estate appraisers often undervalue black owned homes by 21 to 23%, which lowers the price a home is likely to be sold for. Overassessment of black owned homes is the fault of tax assessors, 81.3% of them of whom are white. Whereas the undervaluation of black owned homes is the fault of the licensed professional appraiser, 99% of whom are white. These discrepancies demonstrate deep flaws in the two mechanisms the housing industry uses to determine value and present a real barrier to wealth building for black homeowners. Let's see. Data suggests black homeowners' ability to gain wealth through home ownership is also largely dependent upon the housing preference of white Americans. That's true. Because white folks, if they don't want to come to your neighborhood, then they're going to say it ain't worth nothing. But then when you look out your window and you see a mid 20, early 30-year-old balding white dude pushing a baby stroller with his wife and a little dog, and you like, these people, where they come from, you know what's coming. And then you look up and around the corner, you see a Starbucks or a white Rhino, you know what's coming. It ain't gonna be pretty. And then you're like, uh-oh. The next thing you know, your houses, the value of houses gonna start going up, and you're like, man, all right. Now I'm finally getting what I deserve. But what you ain't seeing is down the street, the grandmama down the street, the old people down the street, even the young folk who don't understand how these laws and these appraisals work are moving out. They're selling the house or getting pushed out the neighborhood because they can't afford to stay there because the taxes are too high. Because the house has been appraised more than what it's been appraised for the last 30 years. And all of a sudden, white people start moving in and buying houses, tearing them down, remodeling them. And now property values are going up. So which means property taxes are going up. And the other people that are there are not ready for it, and they can't afford it, so now they got to move out. It says, see, further homes in white neighborhoods are appraised at 3 times the value of homes in communities of color. And over the last decade, homes in white neighborhoods appreciated $200,000 more on average than similar homes in communities of color. Data also shows that homes lose approximately 16% of their value once the neighborhood's population of black resident reaches 10%. And again, I need y'all to read this article. I need y'all to click on this article and scroll through it. And as you scroll through it, click on the links, because every last one of these links shows the proof to where you can have an intelligent discussion, intelligent dialogue with appraisers, with tax offices, with people who's trying to sell or buy your house, or people who want to sit there and say that racism isn't real. People want to say that we are crazy or bitter for hollering about reparations. We should leave it alone. We don't deserve it. And yet you don't hear the same thing when we talking about foreigners who's coming in, money being spent on them, or foreigners who ain't coming in and money being spent on them. But yet we're not treated the same. Yes, I have a house. And yes, I think all the time now about if I get ready to sell a house, what am I going to get for it? I look at my neighborhood and I could think of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me see. 1, 2. It's like 30 something houses in here. And I want to say at least, what's 10, 20, 30% other homes here are owned by black people. And so I wonder, when it's time to sell, how they gonna do us? You know, are they gonna try to lowball us because of the ethnicity of this neighborhood? We got blacks, we got Hispanic, and we got whites. What they gonna do to our house? Like I said, what they gonna try to, get us for our house? And it's not a settling thought, but it's reality. So it's something, reading stuff like this helps me so I can prepare for when the time comes and it's time to, like I said, if we sell, or to look at who moves into the neighborhood and what the valuation. Because my thing is, man, I'm trying to do like them folk do. Use the house to be able to, send kids and grandkids to school, take out equity loans or payments or something, use the money on some wealth, transfer some wealth over so these youngers can go to school and get their own, and make a way for themselves and not have to take out all these loans and make it hard for them. My job is to make it easy for them, not to make it to where they could, wear Jordans and other name brand stuff, have the latest shoes and the latest, name brand things. No, it's to make it to where they could be able to grow. So when they become adults, they can do good things and not have to spend money on student loans and paying off debt that's unnecessary, credit card loans they had to take out because they was going to school, had to use that money to go to school. That's not how this game is supposed to be played. It say the many racial biases within the housing market are often addressed as individual challenges rather than compounding factors that work together to undermine black wealth. And that's another thing. Going back to like the 10%. So what you do is, black people, once you start understanding money, let's say get college educated, try to get a career, you want to move to a decent neighborhood, right? You want to maximize your money. You don't want to live somewhere, no matter if you grew up there or not, you don't want to live somewhere where, maybe a high crime rate or the probability of you getting robbed or your house getting broken into is high. You want to go somewhere you want to feel safe, regardless, just as people. Forget the ethnicity or the color of your skin. That's just what it is. So when you move out and you move out away from what you used to, what you see these houses with, white people or Indians, like overseas Indians. They got these nice houses, neighborhoods are quiet. There's some black folks too, don't get me wrong. But majority of these neighborhoods have very few black people in them. Now, I know black people who take care of themselves, take care of their stuff, respect their stuff, and respect everybody else's stuff too. And they would cause no problems in any neighborhood they would be in. But the problem is, if too many of us move into a neighborhood, the white folks gonna run out. The valuation of the houses or the properties are gonna go down. And then eventually everybody and their mama can move in there, including those who don't respect their own property or don't respect other people's property. That's how it goes. It's just a cycle. You may not like to hear it, but that's how life goes in this country. And unfortunately, for you to have things, you have to do it. Now, here's what I do want to say. In the grand scheme of things, you really shouldn't worry about. You want to get to a point where we don't really worry about what other people think a house is worth. If I can get a neighborhood full of ADOS and FBA people who got degrees, who got careers, making good money, paying taxes, law-abiding citizens, let's say productive members of society, and we can all live in the same neighborhood, and we understand how to keep the riffraff out, no matter what color they are. It don't matter what them folk think the house is worth. And we keep our houses up, it don't matter. Keep our properties up, keep our neighborhoods up, it don't matter what they think. Because you know what it's worth. You know you're going to get something from it. So it is, and if you feeling good, you ain't trying to go nowhere. That's just it. And that's how you got to look at it. Now, your wealth may not grow as fast as them other folk, but it's okay because your wealth is still growing and you can still play the same games, maybe on a different level, but you can still do the same thing they do. And then eventually you'll get to the point to where, you may be on the same level, but it may not be in this generation, maybe generations down the line. It said access to wealth building home ownership should exist in every neighborhood. And as a Black homeowner's ability to build wealth should not be based on the subjective perception of white professionals or the preferences of white homebuyers. Furthermore, using home ownership to close the racial wealth gap, which was estimated to sit at $10.14 trillion, requires that the burden to eliminate wealth inequality in America no longer be placed on Black homeowners as individuals, but the factors that created it in the first place. After all, Black people created America's wealth, not its wealth gap. That's true. And then there's a figure here that says the median household wealth for white people is $187,300, and for Black people it's $14,100. Home ownership rate, 42% of white people have homes compared to like 44% of Black people have homes. But again, if you compare it like to 1,000 white people compared to 100 white people, you can say 100% of Black people have homes, and it still wouldn't equal up to the 72% of the white people. Not even close. They say we're trying to play catch up to others that have been afforded the necessary conditions to build wealth for generations. While many Black homeowners have achieved upper social mobility, the tax code and housing industry do not empower them like it does for white homeowners. And again, that is a true statement. To combat the racial wealth gap, Dorothy Brown, look at her. Amazing. I didn't read this whole article, but this is her. Dorothy Brown. Get this book. Dorothy Brown, Georgia law professor and author of The Whiteness of Wealth, proposed a wealth-based refundable tax credit for taxpayers whose wealth falls below the median of approximately $100,000. Brown has acknowledged that although the tax credit is not targeted directly at Black taxpayers, the disproportionate share of taxpayers that fall below the median wealth are Black at 83%. Thus, an initiative of this sort is likely to withstand legal challenges because it is directed toward a socioeconomic class and rather than a racial group. And that's how they created the wealth gap anyway, or extended it anyway. They found a way to make it make it for a socioeconomic issue. But most of your people that are below like you said, there's below the wealth gap are our people. So you do laws and taxes for people who are rich or who have money or who have the ability, the ability to most likely get that wealth, who are the white people. You pass taxes and laws that benefit them, knowing that all it's going to do is help them get richer. And all it's going to do is hold back the poor people, which are us. And like in war and anything else, you'll have your casualties. So yeah, it'll be some white people who don't get it, who don't benefit from it. But hey, you gotta have casualties of war. You can't save all your people, which is a problem I think in our community. Is we try to save all our people, but all our people ain't worth saving. All our people ain't trying to do right. So you can't save them all. What you do is you don't become financially successful and stay in the same neighborhoods that are poverty stricken and crime riddled or what have you. What you do is you take what you got, you move out, and anybody else who has your same mentality and your same work ethic, they come with you or they follow you, and you just blaze a path for them. You don't bring everybody with you. They have to follow your path. You see what I'm saying? But that's a whole different story. Man, I like that. I'm glad they brought old Sister Dorothy Brown up. So the U.S. tax code is somewhat progressive, although Brookings research has shown it has become less so over the last 5 decades, and so on and so on. To say, lastly, greater transparency would also help address the root cause of the wealth gap. Brown has called for the public release of IRS tax data by race to more easily identify discriminatory tax policies. Yep, I remember reading that in that book. All of these proposed reforms seek to level the playing field for Black taxpayers and mitigate the advantage of tax code currently provides to wealthy white taxpayers, and so on and so on. Hey, I'm gonna cut it off on there. I want y'all, like I said, because I want y'all to read this. It's a lot more to this article. Like I said, it's a lot of details. There are a lot of statistics, a lot of research in this article, a lot of links you can click so you can learn, take notes, and then get out there and cry to the streets. But yes, we have to understand and research and learn the tax code. That's one of the main things that we got to do in order to, like I say, be helped to create and generate our wealth. Like I said, we talk about this wealth gap. We talk about owning businesses, become an entrepreneur so we can close a racial wealth gap. So they allow us to say these type of things on videos and on these commercials on social media because they know it's not gonna go nowhere. They're gonna let us sell candles and cocoa butter, shea butter, stuff like that. Claim we can drive trucks to make a little money. No, we not finna, not finna close no wealth gap on stuff like that. You know what's gonna do it is understand the tax codes and learning how to maneuver through them. Sending our kids to school to become financial advisors, CPAs, and lawyers, and policemen, law enforcement, people in politics that are going to help benefit our people so that our people can come up, especially financially, economically. Let's say that. People like Dorothy Brown who can bring this information to us. We need a Dorothy Brown in every neighborhood, in every Black neighborhood. Because if we don't do this, we're going to continue to be in the same situation as a group that we have been in for as long as we've been in this country, and it will not change. And we can holler this racial wealth gap until the cows come home. But truthfully, I've always said I wouldn't even worry about closing a racial wealth gap because it's too big. Until we get reparations in the form of cash payments for descendants of slaves or financial Black Americans. That's the quickest way it can be decreased. But even then, you still have to understand how to manage that money and how to use that money to build a community. But anyway, that's all I got for this. I just wanted to bring y'all this information. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. I said I wanted to create this channel, call it growth, grassroots, our wealth, tradition, and heritage for a reason. Not do so much of these entertainment stories or these gossip stories, which get more clicks, unfortunately. But to really bring this information so that we can all, when I learn something, I want to bring it to y'all. When I see something that I feel that's going to benefit us, I'll be wanting to bring it to you guys. And so all I ask you to do is just to like and share. Share for sure. And then, subscribe for sure too. So that way we can get the views up and get this information out there, because I know I'm not the only one putting it out there either. But I do want to help. The more people that put it out there, the more the probability that, more of us will learn about it. But anyway, tell me what you think about this article. Leave your comments below and then share it with the world. And with that being said, I'll leave you in peace. And I'll see you on the other side.